Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda, and today I am here all by myself. I feel like it has been some time since I've done the podcast alone, but it has been an amazing year of connecting with fellow energy workers and people within this realm of, sharing their experiences using all types of techniques and from different backgrounds and points of view. So I want to, first of all, in this podcast, thank everyone who has been a guest on Reiki Radio this year. And also, as always, I thank all of you for showing up and listening and supporting the podcast through all of these years. It has been very interesting, and the podcast, if you have listened for years, it has evolved and changed, gone through several iterations. And so I really am thankful that you all have been here observing and witnessing my personal growth, but also, creating this community where so many of us are now together sharing in these experiences and having these conversations that help all of us go deeper into our practice and understanding. So thank you to everyone. And this episode, there are just a few points that I wanted to share, and it's going to be short and sweet. First, just acknowledging we are wrapping up this year, 2018, and 2018 is a universal year 11. It also, if you add 1 and 1 together, is 2. So in numerology, this year really had the energy of and the focus or the theme of our spiritual growth and, going deeper into connection with our higher self, our intuitive selves. 11 is the master intuitive in the system of numerology, but it also represents the duality, that number 2, the duality of, I don't know why I can't speak, the duality of our human nature. I mean, being spirit, non-physical, being energetic, as well as being in form in these physical bodies, and looking at those aspects of our higher mind and our personality selves or ego, and also looking at the balance between the feminine and the masculine. And in this year, culturally, we've seen extreme shift into highlighting the divine feminine principle in society, with so many things that have emerged and come forward this year with different movements and women and people just sharing their voices in ways that have really been amplified throughout this year. So in that, we reel it back into, on a personal level, of identifying our relationships with our own feminine and masculine energy, and how those energies project themselves in our own spaces. And a lot of us have a lot of healing to do around our personal feminine and masculine energies and aspects of ourselves. And that, again, as I've said before, has nothing to do with gender. We all have or are comprised of the feminine and masculine. And, our, physical representations may speak more to the manifestation of one of those principles, but we are all a blend of both the feminine and masculine. And like in all things in this life, and what we study and learn on these spiritual journeys, it's about balancing and harmonizing the dualistic nature of being here in the material realm. So 2018 spoke to a lot of that, and also supported us in a lot of ways of being bold enough to look at ourselves and to really dive into what it is that we may be healing or transforming or working through, and our own imbalances and our own tendencies for extremes, no matter what it may have been. And number 2 also highlights relationships. So a lot of us had interesting dynamics to consider and experiences very specific to relationship energy. So not just the relationships with ourselves, but relationships with other people, whether romantic partnerships, whether business relationships. For me personally, it manifested in collaborations, doing work with other people. So, it has been a very full year. And speaking of that, now that we are nearing the end of the year, it is very common for us to have this push-pull type of feeling, kind of a tug of war, because our natural rhythm, how we are synced with and one with the universe, we are going through seasonal change. For those of us, some of us are in the season of winter now, and that energy in of itself makes us want to go in, and it's more like hibernating and very internalized and kind of going down into a space of inner process, but also allowing some things to die away, this point of transition. What have we moved out of, grown out of? What are we moving through? And it's also a good time to consider our own recovery, because we have been so active throughout this year. We have had so many experiences, and oftentimes we are so go, go, go that we don't take the time to pause and allow all that we have gone through to really integrate and to have some consideration of how we have been affected by it all and what we have learned from it all and what we have gained, the insights, the wisdom, all of these things. So what is coming up, which is a good time to have this time of very intentional reflection, is the winter solstice. So that is coming up just about a week away. It is on December 21st, I believe, this year. And during the solstice, it is the longest night of the year. And so again, it's that ability to, or reminder to, really allow ourselves go into the dark, which is like to go inward, to really go in and observe what is coming up for us. What has this year been? What has it meant? What have we learned? What have we gained? And even the challenges that we have or had, recognizing and remembering that, they may have also given us opportunities to grow beyond what we thought we were capable of, or to help us to identify things that we have been holding on to or functioning from that were really a hindrance to us. And now we have these new opportunities, and new doors are opening, new experiences are laying themselves at our feet. And so here we go into like another phase of the unknown. And this is a beautiful preparation really for the energy of next year, which is 2019. Now in the system of numerology, if you add those numbers together, you get the number 12, which reduces down to the number 3. So the number 3 is the number of creation. It's creative energy. So you had this year that we're in now where you've had all of these considerations of relationship to yourself and others, looking at the polarity and the duality in being and existing. And then in this next year, it's kind of like, okay, well, what do you do with all that you've learned and all that you have grown through? How can you use or utilize these energies, these lessons, this wisdom, and create something new from it? What are you going to create in 2019? Now, a lot of times when we think of creation, we think of just external things like projects that we may have or goals that we want to attain. And, in the new year, we often think of themes and all of these things that we're going to do outside of us. But one thing I would ask you to consider is the recreation of yourself. How will you go and use this creative energy to recreate and re-identify yourself? You are not the same as you were yesterday. You may have been in the process of recreating your perspectives, your points of view. You have been recreating and redefining, how you want to show up in the world or in your life. So that speaks to your energy of creation as well. It's not always just these external output, tangible things. We are, especially in this realm of like energy healing and transformation, this is that energetic alchemy, right? Like, how are you changing and recreating the self? Now, one of the things with that, and I always say this, but it's true, like sometimes we get caught up in language, and our language can be very limiting. And to say that, it sounds like, we're becoming a new person in a very hard-lined way. But the truth is, it's like, kind of like, just polishing things up, um, allowing ourselves to step into the essence of what we have really always been. So in recreating the self, it's actually, in a sense, letting our true self emerge or re-emerge. So it's almost like this process of just allowing yourself to start functioning from more of a higher awareness. And as we always talk about on this podcast, it's a process. We are constantly in a state of growing, learning, evolving, deepening our understanding. And all of these experiences that we have out in our lives give us opportunities to fine-tune and recognize what our points of view are, how we're functioning, what we're doing. So yeah, 2019, just consider what that creation or creative energy means to you and how it applies to you personally in an internalized way, as well as how you will then start to create externally based on who you are allowing yourself to be or become. That is one thing. Like when we talk about energy work and all of these things, as we shift and change internally, just our mind, our energy, as these things shift and change, it will naturally, by extension, change our outer creations, what we give more attention to, how we are creating, if we're functioning from like love versus fear, and all of these things. So 2019 should be very interesting. In Chinese astrology, we are going into the year of the pig in 2019, which is also considered a very fortunate year, and also could speak to that creative energy. So as we do move into 2019, of course, we will come back. I will come back and we will talk more in depth about the different energies that will be coming up for us. But today I just wanted to give us like some foundational consideration. And with that said, on the solstice, even though it is a time to be reflective and really take a deep dive into the self, it can also be a good time to consider your inspirations. What is inspiring you at this time? What is motivating you at this time? And if you feel stuck or unmotivated, what do you need to reconnect to? Your passion. What lights you up inside that will bring back that spark of life to propel you forward? It all starts with like that observation and consideration of ourselves, right? To really bring the answers forward. So with that, I just want to remind all of you, I know several of you who have listened to the podcast for some time. At the beginning of 2018, I offered 22 days of transformation as a free gift for anyone who signs up for my newsletter. That is still there and available. And in fact, there is a new person in our Seeker Circles group who has just started their journey of 22 days of transformation. And they have been sharing with us what has been coming up for them each day. And I have to tell you, I mean, their insights are just beautiful. And I love the way that people share in that space. But it also reminded me to extend that offer to all of you. If you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, go to yewchi.com. That's YEWCHI.com, and sign up for the newsletter, and you will get access to 22 days of transformation, which will support you and what it means to be an observer of yourself. And it's very easy, it's fun, and it's a great way to prepare for or even start the new year. You will also get access to Creating with the Moon and Stars, which is something that I have offered for several years now. And with that, you will have updated information month to month throughout the entire 2019 about the energy of every month and how all of us can really utilize the different energies month to month to support us on our paths. So you have access to all of that for free just by signing up for the newsletter, and you will have a coupon code in there to download those gifts right away. So that aside, another thing I wanted to remind you all of, just like I mentioned, the Seeker Circle, we have a lot going on in there outside of the podcast. So the end of this year, actually, you know, there have been a couple weeks where I didn't podcast, and it's because I've had a lot going on with rebranding my own business and new offerings that I'm preparing for you all in 2019. In fact, if you go to my website, you will see that it is entirely different, and it is now the Energetic Alchemist. So Yuchi will be fading away, and it will be just theenergeticalchemist.com. And in that, in the Seeker Circle, even though there are things ongoing there, one of the things I wanted to let you know about is that we recently had a discussion about Reiki classes. And for those of you who may be Reiki teachers or thinking about teaching in the new year, we had a whole discussion around some tips and suggestions and tools that can support you in teaching classes. So those are the kind of discussions we have in there. And again, it's a free community. And if you would like to join us, go to my website and you will see a link to the Seeker Circle so that you can join the community. It's very supportive. I mean, it's just really amazing the way that people share and come in to support each other through all of this. I mean, not just Reiki, meditation, yoga, I mean, just everything, just day-to-day life. I mean, sometimes people just share something that they're going through and everyone will lend support. And it has just become such a beautiful space. And I am so thankful to all of you who are there and sharing. So a couple of more things before we go. I just want to let you know that we have a few new guests who will be coming on Reiki Radio. There are some interviews that have already been done and will be coming down the pipeline. And there will be new guests for 2019. If you are someone who has something to share about your journey or you think would be supportive of this community, please email me and we can schedule that. And also, I will be taking a couple of weeks off at the end of this year because I will be spending the holidays with my family. And so I won't be here on Reiki Radio, but there will still be offerings for you. So there are two collaborations that I have been a part of this year, which I've told you all about. But if you haven't checked it out yet, now is a good time. If you want to join me and 3 other women in the Jaya Collective, we meet and have live events every Friday, although we will have a week off next week. But tomorrow, we are going to talk all about love languages. So I know most of you have heard about the love languages. It's a test, it's a book, but they also have this online test that you can take for free to see what your love languages are. So we are all taking that love language test, and we are going to talk about how, you know, the dynamics of how we all express love differently and also want to be in reception of expressions of love differently and what that all looks like. So you can join us in the Jaya Collective tomorrow, or you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes as well. And then there is the Mind Body Energy Project with Tiffany and I, and we have events every Wednesday. And she and I just did a whole series on spirit guides. So not only what spirit guides are or who they are, but we also discussed ways to help manage our connections with spirit guides, our higher selves, and our intuitive minds. Because it's very important to be grounded into yourself, especially when you're accessing other levels of consciousness. So you can learn more about that at the Mind Body Energy Project, and that is also a podcast that you can subscribe to on iTunes. So thank you for that. I hope you will join us for that as well. And then finally, one thing I want to point out that I haven't in a while and I've meant to is I really appreciate those of you who have left reviews and rated Reiki Radio on iTunes. So when you subscribe to Reiki Radio on iTunes, but that if you leave a review or rate the show, like it lets you put like 5 stars or whatever, you could also leave your comments or feedback. It really helps support the show. And so for those of you who have taken time to do that, I just want you to know that I deeply appreciate that, because one of my personal goals or desires and inspiration is to share and continue to build this community so that so many people on this path who may not have community yet can find us and know that they are not alone, and that we can all, again, continue to learn and grow through these experiences and exchanging of information. And just so you know, if you are new to me and my work and Reiki Radio, I don't discriminate about lineage or even what modality you practice. It doesn't matter. We can all learn from each other. So if you do come in to join us in the Seeker Circle, just keep that in mind. Be respectful of people's different schools of thought. If people have learned different lineages or different methods of Reiki, all of these things, just keep an open mind, be respectful, and recognize the opportunity we all have to learn from each other. And we don't always have to agree, but we can still be respectful and learn from each other. And that is what it is all about. So again, I just wanted to come in today to thank you all so much for being here and to let you know why I haven't posted every week. Just have been really busy preparing for 2019, but there are some interviews coming up that I am very excited to share with you. So I hope that you guys will join me on the other side, and I cannot wait to share and explore with you in 2019. So as always, I'm sending you so much love, and thank you for the love that you send back to me. And remember to always journey in love. Bye for now.